The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers on my old Volvo working overtime. I am Colm, and at 43 I thought I had it all figured out. A comfortable life in Seattle, a fulfilling job as a landscape architect, and a seemingly happy marriage to Aoife. We'd been together for 15 years, and while the spark wasn't as fiery as it once was, I believed we had built something solid, something built on trust and mutual respect. That night, however, the foundations of my world began to crumble. Aoife was at a conference in Portland, something about sustainable urban planning. She'd been gone for 2 days and I missed her, even the little things like her humming off-key while she made coffee in the morning. I pulled into the driveway, the headlights illuminating the familiar silhouette of our house. It was a craftsman-style home, the kind with a big porch and a swing, the kind that screamed happy family. As I unlocked the front door, I noticed something odd. A pair of shoes I didn't recognize were by the door, expensive-looking leather loafers. My heart did a little skip, a tiny tremor of unease. Maybe a neighbor stopped by, I thought, trying to rationalize it away. Maybe Aoife had someone over before she left. I walked further into the house, calling out, "Hello." Silence. An unsettling silence that amplified the pounding in my ears. I checked the kitchen, the living room, the study. Empty. Then I went upstairs. The door to our bedroom was slightly ajar. I pushed it open, and the scene that greeted me ripped a hole in my soul. Aoife was there in our bed, tangled in the sheets with a man I'd never seen before. He was younger, maybe late 20s, with a cocky smirk that seemed permanently etched on his face. They were both naked, and the air was thick with the cloying scent of sex and cheap perfume. Time seemed to stop. My mind went blank, and the only thing I could register was the crushing weight in my chest, the feeling of being suffocated. Aoife's eyes snapped open and her face went white. The smirk vanished from the other man's face, replaced by a look of panicked confusion. "Colm," Aoife whispered, her voice trembling. "It's not what you think. Not what I think." I managed to croak out, my voice barely a whisper. "What am I supposed to think, Aoife?" "You're in our bed, naked, with some guy I've never seen before." The other man scrambled out of bed, grabbing his clothes. He didn't say a word, just darted past me and out the door, disappearing into the night. I didn't even try to stop him. My focus was entirely on Aoife, on the woman I had loved and trusted for 15 years, the woman who had just shattered my world into a million pieces. "Colm, please," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Let me explain." "Explain what, Aoife?" "Explain how you could do this. Explain how you could betray me like this." I was yelling now, my voice raw with pain and anger. "I don't understand. I thought we were happy. I thought we had something real." She started to cry harder, her body shaking. "I don't know why I did it," she sobbed. "It just happened. It was a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated, incredulous. "A mistake. This wasn't a spilled glass of wine, Aoife. This was a deliberate act of betrayal. This was you choosing to sleep with someone else in our bed in our house." I couldn't stand to look at her anymore. I turned and walked out of the room, down the stairs, and out of the house. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away, to escape the suffocating atmosphere of betrayal. I ended up at a dive bar downtown, a place I hadn't been to in years. I ordered a whiskey neat and downed it in one gulp. The bartender, a grizzled old man with a knowing look in his eyes, didn't say a word, just refilled my glass. I sat there for hours, drinking and trying to make sense of what had happened. How could Aoife do this to me? Had our marriage been a lie all along? Had I been blind to the signs, too complacent, too trusting? The next few days were a blur of anger, sadness, and confusion. Aoife kept calling, leaving messages, begging me to talk to her. I ignored them all. I couldn't face her, couldn't bear to hear her excuses. I stayed at a cheap motel, the kind with stained carpets and flickering lights, anything to avoid being in the same house as her. I finally agreed to meet her at a neutral location, a coffee shop we used to frequent when we were first dating. She looked terrible, her eyes red and puffy, her face pale and drawn. She started to cry as soon as she saw me. "Colm, I am so sorry," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "I know I've hurt you and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I regret what I did. It was a moment of weakness, a stupid mistake." "It didn't mean anything, didn't mean anything," I repeated, my voice flat. "How can you say that, Aoife? It meant everything. It meant that you were willing to risk our marriage, our life together, for a moment of pleasure with a stranger. She reached out to touch my hand, but I pulled away. Please, Colm, she begged. Give me another chance. I know I can make things right. I'll do anything. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I realized that I didn't recognize her anymore. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built a life with, was gone. In her place was a stranger, a liar, a cheat. I can't, Aoife, I said, my voice cold and hard. I can't forgive you. I can't trust you. It's over. She started to cry again, but this time I didn't feel anything. No anger, no sadness, just a hollow emptiness. I stood up and walked away, leaving her sitting there, alone and broken. The divorce was messy and painful. Aoife fought me on everything, trying to get as much as she could. I didn't care about the money or the possessions. All I wanted was to be free of her, to erase her from my life. As the dust settled, I started to piece my life back together. I threw myself into my work, designing beautiful gardens and landscapes, finding solace in the beauty of nature. I started exercising again, running and hiking, pushing myself to my physical limits. I reconnected with old friends, people I had neglected during my marriage. Slowly but surely, I started to heal. One day, I received a letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer in Portland. Curious, I opened it and began to read. The letter informed me that the man Aoife had cheated on me with, a guy named Fionn, had been involved in a Ponzi scheme. He defrauded investors out of millions of dollars, and the authorities were closing in. Apparently, Aoife had invested a significant amount of money with him, money that she had secretly taken from our joint accounts. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me was satisfied, a sense of karma being served, but another part of me felt a pang of sadness for Aoife. She had been so blinded by her desire for excitement and pleasure that she had made a series of terrible decisions, decisions that had destroyed our marriage and now threatened to ruin her life. A few weeks later, I received another letter, this time from Aoife herself. It was a rambling, incoherent mess, filled with apologies and regrets. She admitted that she had been foolish and selfish, that she had made a terrible mistake. She said that she had lost everything, her money, her reputation, her friends. She was alone and desperate. I didn't respond to her letter. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to reach out, to offer her some comfort, some support. But another part of me knew that it was impossible. The trust was gone, the love was gone, and there was nothing left to salvage. I moved on with my life, eventually finding love again with someone new, someone who appreciated me for who I was, someone who valued honesty and loyalty. Aoife's betrayal left a scar, a permanent reminder of the pain and heartbreak I had endured. But it also taught me a valuable lesson about the importance of trust, communication, and staying true to myself. Years later, I heard that Aoife had moved to another state, changed her name, and started a new life. I never saw her again, never spoke to her again. But I often wondered about her, about the choices she had made, and about the path her life had taken. I hoped that she had found some measure of peace and happiness, that she had learned from her mistakes, and that she was finally living an honest and fulfilling life. Looking back, I realized that Aoife's betrayal, as devastating as it was, ultimately made me a stronger and more resilient person. It forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to reevaluate my priorities, and to build a life that was truly authentic and meaningful. And for that, I am grateful. Betrayal is a cruel teacher, but sometimes it's the only way to learn the lessons we need to learn. It's a hard journey, filled with pain and uncertainty, but it's also a journey that can lead to growth, healing, and ultimately, a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.